Boone River, Eagle Grove, Iowa. I'm here visiting Taylor, Moffitt of Halydean, listening to his stereo, and I've been here for about a week because this guy's got like the best place. Right across the street is a golf course. Literally across the street, you can walk across the street and play golf. And in the backyard is this. And they drop us off 40 minutes drive upstream, and we're going on 3 hours drifting through this paradise. Okay, like I said, I'm here to visit him, so we're gonna say goodbye to all of this and go inside and visit Taylor Moffitt of Halydean and hear all about his system. Okay, gang, we're in lovely Eagle Grove, Iowa today with Taylor, and I've been here for about a week experiencing more golfing and canoeing than audio, and it's been, and food, and it's been a blast. It's been
fattening
fun.
blast.
Yeah, so anyway, now we get to look at the room. So Taylor, why don't you tell us about your room and your system?
All right, well, I'll start off talking a little bit about the room itself, and then we'll go to the electrical system, which is kind of at the front end, and then we'll go to the digital front end. My system's primarily digital, and then we'll go to the analog side of things with the rest of it. But this room is not necessarily ideal. My house is a split level home, and we're in the lower levels, so it's concrete. For the lower half, the house had carpet on the walls, which is kind of funny. It does seem to eliminate a lot of the slapback and echo that the room maybe would have had being concrete with concrete walls partway up. And around most of the walls are these panels that Danny at GR Research recommended to me. They're 2-inch thick or 1.5-inch thick duct board. So it's compressed fiberglass, and it's not purely absorptive like regular fiberglass. It's partially reflective.
It's the Owens Corning, like 703, right?
Yeah, it's Owens Corning. It's hard, like you could build things out of it. But this is 1.5 inch thick, and I've got it across the back wall here and across the front wall behind the speakers, and I've got some panels of it on the sides as well. And I think that the voicing of this stuff is pretty natural. You can walk around the room and you don't hear any slapback or echo, but at the same time, it isn't bass heavy sounding. Where we're standing right now, I think it sounds pretty natural. It's more live end on this side and dead end on that side. I've got everybody's favorite, the acoustic popcorn ceiling, which I think these sound fantastic on the live end side of things. And the acoustic popcorn ceiling over here on this side. And I guess behind us here we've got a couple of homemade DIY cheapo. These for primary reflections are highly absorptive and diffusive at the same time. They're from Bubos on Amazon, and you just kind of peel and stick them. And I've been really happy with these things. I've got the Bubos peel and stick things on the ceiling as well for primary reflections off the ceiling. And I've got some of these Skyline quadratic diffusers up here on the ceiling as well, in the position where you'd get primary reflections. But when I did get them out to this point, I think that these 2 rows was where I passed the optimal point and I got too much absorption. So they're really stuck on there, and now I have to get them off the ceiling to kind of restore that brilliance that the system had before. The reason I do live end, dead end is because my main speakers are these MG 20.7 Magnapans on MYE stands. And Magnapans do really thrive in a live end, dead end room. Upon a little bit of listening, Chuck said he actually preferred the Wilson Watt Puppy 5s that we've got here. They're actually Watt 5s Puppy 3s. And I got these, I think, for $1,600. They were completely shot. All the woofers had been punched or kicked in, and there was dirt coming out of the boxes. They were all scratched up. And I did quite a bit of touch-up paint and buffing and communication with Wilson Audio, who they've just been the best for customer service because they've taken such good care of me owning a really old pair of Wilson speakers. And I got brand new diffraction pads. They helped me to get the new style grills that they machined just for me. And my wife was able to pick out the grill cloth color that she liked. And they're pretty much stock and restored to original factory specs, except I installed these little black felt squares with holes cut in the middle right around the tweeter. And I think that just added a little bit of softness and balance to them that I think that they needed. But so far as the rest of the acoustics in the room, we could maybe go back here and I'll show these things. These are Heart Sound Audio Holostages. And the Holostage has been kind of a hot topic wherever you talk about it because, and I've got 3 of them stacked here and Velcroed right to the wall where I think they sound good.
With a magnet?
With little magnets on the top, which seems to give them a little extra juice. They've been
one over here in this corner.
Yep, I've got 3 more over in that corner. And I've got another couple stacked right here in the middle, in the back. These are also Holostages, but they're an older model that Chrissy made that was in a rounded wood case. They're a little bit bigger than the other ones, but they're a little prettier in some ways.
I've used these, and you can tell that not only the effect, which is profound, but where you put them causes it to, you can bring the soundstage around and be enveloped the way that you want to be.
Yeah, it's hard to describe because nobody really knows what the heck they're doing. And I don't even think that the manufacturer really knows what they're doing. She's just done so much trial and error and has tested so many different things and settled on what she thinks sounds best that whatever they are, you just put them in the room. If you put them in the back corners, it pulls your soundstage back around you. And I think, at least among the systems that I've heard, this one, the way that it's set up right now is very dimensional sounding. It does have a lot of depth of soundstage and pretty good imaging. And I think that in a large part, much of that is because of the Holostages. Some people have said that they provide an effect like swimming in the music, which is kind of a funny description, but perhaps apropos.
It's pretty accurate. We know, I think technically we know what they're doing. We just don't know how they're doing it.
Yeah, we can hear the difference.
It's definitely changing the sound.
They improve your pace, rhythm, and timing. They seem like somebody has a knob for your signal to noise ratio, and they're turning down background noise.
Yeah. The music comes out of a black background. It's crazy.
And I've also got some up here on the tops of my Maggies, and for whatever reason, they seem to be working pretty well. Some guys will just use one by itself. Other guys will set them stacked like this, and other guys will stack them like this. I've also got these things on my electronics, and they do interact with your inductive field above your inductors, your transformers. So they do change the sonic characteristics and performance of your electronics, which is kind of strange, and I don't quite get that either.
The two big ones there are actually connected, right?
Yeah.
They're not, I mean, they're holostage, but they're connected.
Right. And we can kind of start talking about the electrical system a little bit now. So we'll just kind of cut into this little utility room. Pardon all the mess.
It's a utility room.
Yeah. But on the breaker panel here, I've also got what amounts to being two giant Holostages that are from Heart Sound Audio. She calls them her breaker boxes. And you just put it right on the door of the breaker panel, and you can hold them up with magnets. They've got magnets that are adhesive on the back, but sometimes they're not quite strong enough, so I put more magnets underneath. And that's kind of when some people started figuring out that if you put magnets on the Holostages, it seems to intensify their effect a little bit. But for listening, this is maybe a little trick that a lot of audiophiles are already doing, but Chuck was actually the one that told me about this trick. Thanks, Chuck. But I go ahead and I turn off all the breakers that I'm not using while listening. So for today, I've left on only the breakers for the hi-fi system and for the lights in the rooms where we are, and the breakers for the Wi-Fi system and the internet. So
it sounds crazy, but I've had people over and I've done blind tests with them, and they're just like, what did you do that made it sound so much better? They hear the difference. They don't know what I did because I don't show them, or nobody, excuse me, you walk out, nobody knows you're going to come out here and flip breakers, you know?
Yeah, I think the effect is, it's just like, at night, how your system sounds better at night than it does during the day.
That's a good comparison.
That's what this does. It's kind of like, maybe not as dramatic as the effect that you get listening at night where your system's better, but
you can do it at the flip of a switch.
Yeah, that's
you don't have to wait until 2 a.m.
Yeah, so any time I'm doing serious so we could probably go in here and talk about the front end now. In the next room, I've got my Wi-Fi rack. So over here, this is where the DSL line comes in from the modem, for the modem, and this is the modem. I've got the modem sitting on top of some little springs that you can see under there, and I've got a Holostage on top of the modem as well. And this underneath it is just quartz. These little containers are just quartz as well. And from the modem, the modem itself is powered by this linear power supply that is also on little cheap spring feet. Now, I really am a big fan of the Townsend feet, but for
Townsend pods.
Yeah, Townsend pods, but for budget purposes,
these knob sound are fantastic.
Yeah, you can just get these things on Amazon, and then inside you can remove a few of the springs to get them to be a little more compliant, and you can put earplugs inside the springs to help damp them,
right?
So that way they're not bouncy. And I think that's maybe about the best thing you can get if you want some really cheap, budget-minded gear.
So people can see there's just one spring in that one back there, because this is so light.
Entire thing balanced on one spring here for the modem. And then from the modem, the signal goes down here, and I should probably show this as well. The linear power supply that's powering the modem has DC signal that comes up to this, and I've got an iFi active noise cancellation device. You know how headphones have active noise cancellation, where the positive and the negative cancel out to eliminate noise. They've got the same kind of circuitry here in this little box to flatten out your DC signal and make it cleaner. So that way I've got a good beefy power supply with a lot of grunt, because I figured the modem is going to be in a digital system that's doing a lot of streaming. The modem is going to be your first piece of equipment. So I figured I might as well do everything I can to get the signal to be as pure as possible. So from the linear power supply, I've got these cheap Chinese $35 power cords that are braided power cords, and it's kind of like a super cheap version of getting some Shunyata power cords. Now the Shunyata is far better than this because they've actually got a non-woven, non-inductive ground that goes through the middle. But these things, they're highly inductive, so they're great for a digital front end. And beside, half of this stuff doesn't even have a ground on it anyways. And I would like to manually go through, drill some little tap screws and wire everything up and ground all of this equipment. I think it might be a little bit quieter if I do that. But the inductive power cords are going into a PS Audio line conditioner, and I think the PS Audio is pretty severe power conditioning. It's really, really powerful. So that's why I've got it on the digital front end, because I think that's where the most offensive noise can come from that gets into your system and pollutes your system. So it's not just that you want to isolate your critical components from the noise coming from the grid. You want to isolate your amplification, preamplification from the noise that's coming from these components, because there is a lot of garbage that can come through here. I've got another system over here. It might be harder to see. There's a really small line conditioner kind of tucked up under there, and then a Bibe device. And the Bibe device is this little box right here. It's also on a single spring foot. And then that goes in. I think I've got it terminated with a Furutech plug. But then this is a nice big hunk of aluminum, solid milled aluminum with a carbon plate on the front, where I've got an iFi active AC purifier, which actively cancels AC noise. This is a Shunyata Venom, which passively filters AC noise, and it's quite measurable if you see some of the Shunyata videos
Right.
about it. Fascinating stuff. And then this plug is an AC box from Heart Sound Audio as well, and I've got the box sitting on top of my first internet switch. So
Every single thing in here is floating on springs, isolated. I think that's got something to do with why what I hear is a lot less digital sounding than you would expect from, gear at this level.
it's been surprisingly pleasant for a digital system.
Yeah.
And what I've got is this is a system that I'd have to credit the Greek Audio Geek on YouTube for. It's his trifecta. So if you just look up Greek trifecta of internet switches, and you can build this same system yourself, and it sounds really good. It has a lot of pace, rhythm, and timing. It's got a lot of detail. It's quiet, but you get this D-Link switch, and we can put the model numbers down in the comments. I'll go into to add that in the comments later, in case anybody wants to buy any of these. But these are super cheap. You can get them used on eBay, and for less than $100, you can improve your digital streaming quality substantially. So that's also on feet. This is Wire World inductive digital cable, and it actually does kind of clean up the sound a little bit. They say you need to have at least 2 meters of it for it to be able to have the filtering effect. So that's why I've got so many of these coils hanging around everywhere. And that's also why I've got so much of this, is because you want to have enough of it for the inductive effect to work. So we're going from this D-Link device, which I've modified by adding mass to the chassis itself. And I'd like to beef up the power supply in there a little bit too. It's being driven by an internal power supply, and then we go up to these 3 switches right here. They're each being driven by a separate linear power supply. And so we go from here up to this one, up to this one, up to this one, and I've got a little Holostage sitting on the top of the pile there. And then we go from the top there. I used to have an I-Fi galvanic isolating bridge right here, and it was kind of funny because I was messing around with it a couple of weeks ago, and I had it unplugged and was going to make some changes, and I thought, you know, it sounds better without this thing. And I don't know.
Oh, that's what we were comparing last night.
Yeah. And then I had Chuck listen to it as well, and he said, yeah, without a doubt, whatever you just did sounds better. And I thought, well, okay.
Which is remove it.
So I just removed my galvanic isolator bridge. And the bridge, I think, is really great for people that have noise coming from their internet signals, because these internet lines are notoriously noisy. It sounds fantastic. And when I hardwired it, it could have been that my cable wasn't burnt in or something, or my cable was just terrible garbage. I was using a Blue Jeans cable, a big long one to go over there, but it just sounded terrible. It just sounded unlistenable. It sounded like digital artifices and the worst of CDs from like somebody's first CD player from the late 80s. You remember what those sounded like, where it was just...
That was perfect sound forever. Don't go knocking perfect sound, man.
Well, that's what I got when I hardwired everything. It was late 80s CD quality router. But this Wi-Fi router is, you can see it's got some feet. I've got a Holostage underneath it, and I upgraded the most critical cable, because in your Ethernet system, the very last cable before your system is the most important. So you want to put the highest quality one last, which is kind of the inverse of going from a turntable or CD player.
And,
So
the main system.
Getting back into here, for grounding on the electrical system, I've got a Shunyata Denali that has a little knob where you can wire in your grounds. And Shunyata has a really good guide about star grounding and chassis grounding. They actually recommend that you should start off by just grounding everything to a single knob before you try any ground filtration. That way you can tell the difference of what improvement are you hearing that's coming from improving your ground, and what improvement are you hearing that is coming from the filtration device. So if you want to bring the camera around here, you can kind of see my ground block. This is a solid copper bus bar, and I've got wires going to each signal ground and each chassis ground on all of my components here. And also tied into this ground block, I've got 2 of the Heart Sound Audio, one of the Heart Sound Audio ground blocks, and this other one is actually an AC filter from Heart Sound Audio, but I've got it wired in to the ground block, just kind of by contact there. And I've also got a Perfect Path Technologies The Gate, which is an old product that some audiophiles might remember. And I've got that tied into ground as well. And I thought that this had an effect of really providing a lot of depth and warmth to it, as well as kind of cleaning it up and making it sound like there was less signal to noise ratio.
For any of the people that are around long enough to remember the gate in Perfect Path, that was a $5,000 device that you had to have an electrician wire into your panel. And all the stuff that you're talking about here, the ground block, all these other things here, even the Holostages, they're about as much or more improvement than the gate, but for like $1,000 or less instead of $5,000. Right.
Fraction of the price. The gate does have a warmer, darker sound to it, though, so I think I love it. I've actually got two of them. There's one down here that is just wired into my AC signal, and then this one is just wired into the ground. But coming out of the outlet right here, which is my primary AC outlet, I've just got everything all on one outlet. I would love to switch over and have 3 outlets, one for each channel and one for my front end, that are all equidistant from the box. But for right now, this is what I've got. This is an isolated ground, and going directly through the wall of the house, there's a ground rod just about 2 feet away from this outlet that is grounded, and then there's another ground cable that goes over to the corner of the house where there's a second ground rod. I've got minerals and things around those rods to help with improving the ground. And I've got a number of little tweaks that I've done that maybe are not quite as significant. But coming out of there, this is GR Research power cord. And I sent Danny these FuruTech terminations that I wanted on there, and he was kind enough to put those on there as well. I think they're 8-gauge power cords, but they're braided, kind of like the Shunyata. And actually, on my most critical piece right here, I've got a Shunyata. I can't remember. Maybe somebody in the comments can remind me what model this is, but it's the noise reduction version 2, and that's what I've got going to my streamer DAC from the Denali. And in the back here, I've also got another Chrissy Heart Sound Audio AC device that's doing filtration, and I've got the GR Research power cords going to my amps, and this is the Puron AC filter, which has an effect kind of like a Heart Sound Audio device, but it's less pronounced. And yeah, I think that about sums up most of the gadgets and gizmos that I've got on the electrical system. I think it's also worth pointing out that I've also got the Denali on springs, and for my streamer DAC, I did bite the bullet and buy the premium Townsend pods, and I've also got my power amps on Townsend pods. So the streamer DAC is a name Unity Atom HE, which stands for Headphone Edition. And the reason I got a headphone edition is because it has balanced outputs. So I'm going from the XLR balanced outputs, and it's got a dedicated low signal output circuit in it. So it's going from the balanced outputs there through Townsend Fractal F1 interconnects into the Levinson 33H power amps. And I've got the 33Hs on Townsend pods as well, 6 of them, because they're pretty heavy. These amps have got AC regenerators built into them. So it takes your AC signal, converts it into DC, and then converts it back into perfect AC, which then goes back into the amplifier and produces your audio. So Back in behind here, I've got a little hard drive, an external hard drive with about 20,000 albums on it. A lot of them transcribed from vinyl by a friend of mine with a very expensive turntable. And I guess so far as my analog front end, I just haven't been using it much lately. I've got an LP12 over here on the other side. And I've got a CD player back here as well, a transport. So this is my Lin LP12 turntable, but at the moment it's without a tone arm. I'm going to set up a little Decca International tone arm. It's the Unipivot. I just love the way those feel. I had a name ARO with the Armageddon power supply for a while and ended up just selling it because I haven't been using my turntable much at all lately, but I would like to get it back in good working order.
I don't think you mentioned your speaker cables.
Oh, yeah. The speaker cables are also Townsend F1 fractal cables, and I really like them because they sound phenomenal. They're really open and spacious, and I've got them on Chuck's cable cradles as well. I used to use some transparent plexiglass elevators that were just really pretty, and you couldn't really see them very much. But the cable cradles, I think, do a better job isolating the cables from ground-borne vibration. You know, there really is something to this idea that ground-borne vibration can affect your audio because a resonating circuit produces electricity, and even your speakers, if they're well grounded like these are at the moment on spikes, your speakers can pick up minute vibrations from the ground that actually move your tweeter to the front and to the back more than some of the music signal that you're listening to.
Right.
Which is really mind-blowing that you can get that much vibration, and when you remove it, it cleans things up. Now, I had my speakers on springs for a while to try it, and it did clean up the mid-range and clean up the treble noticeably. But I think that the Magnepans have such a surface-to-weight ratio that they just lost all of their slam and dynamics. So I had to pick either between springs, where I have the most effortless mid-range and treble, or without the springs, where I have more slam and dynamics. So I opted for the slam and dynamics in this case. But I would think that, you know, putting the Wilsons on some podiums would probably be an improvement from what I've got right now.
Undoubtedly. Yeah.
Have we missed anything, or did we want to hear a little Janice Ian?
Yes, let's do that. Breaking silence. Anything from that is good.
All right. Here we've got track 7. This is transcribed from vinyl. This train still runs.
ambition. We used to burn the power lines, racing with the wind. But time is the madness of a thing. The young love turns bittersweet. Still we keep the lantern hung.
Lagos never gonna be the same, never without fella. Lagos never gonna be the same, never without fella. Lagos never gonna be the same, never without fella.
I'm just an aging drummer boy, and in the wars I used to play, and I've called a tune to many a torture session. Now they say I am a war criminal, and I'm fading away. Father, please hear my confession.
So I guess no video is complete without our one and only reference track. The real high-end audiophiles know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I've had this annoying song stuck in my head because of you, Chuck, playing it on your videos. So here it is, now blighting my system.
Clearly one of the more highbrow, refined recordings. Which, okay, so that leaves a couple more things here. Subs. Was this subs? What do you got for subs?
Well, we weren't
that we're
listening,
actually using, or
we weren't using any subs through any of that except for the last song here. We had one of the 6 subs in the room turned on. And what I've got in here right now, something that I'm in the process of still setting up, is a distributed bass array, which is actually comprised of Chuck's old subwoofers, 4 of them, that he built that are Morel Ultimate drivers. and they're just in sealed boxes. And I've got a few different power amps I'm going to try driving them with to see which ones are my favorites. And each sub is placed in a strategically different part of the room so that the subs are in different nodes and anodes, acoustically speaking. And the idea is that the different peaks and valleys of the subs as they go through these different positions will average out. With the wavelengths being so long, you're not necessarily going to be able to tell where the sub bass is coming from, but they'll average out for regression to the mean, and you'll have a better balance of bass in the system resulting.
Well, it's been a wonderful visit, and I still have a few more days here. It's been a pleasure, a real pleasure.
We're going to get in some more golf. Probably listen to some more tunes as well. Chuck's going to try to blow up my system. He likes to listen louder than I do.
Yes. That's what it's all about, man.
Chuck's always kind of cringed when I've told him about my digital system, but I'm going to have to crow a little bit here.
But now I cringe when I see your analog system. So
my table with no tone arm right now.
Uh-huh. Yep. I'm just going to say, I think that mat, that platter mat that you've got there, it is a dead ringer for the little things that they would stick inside the 45s.
Yep, that's
so
what
you
it
could
is.
play a 45. Yep. Okay, Taylor, been a pleasure, man. And take care.
Great,
See you
thanks.
guys later. So far, so good. The canoe is holding up. Is your footing? Get the footing, man. That stuff's muddy. Yeah, and you got the rope, so you're good.
Yeah, I chose this spot because I can hang on to this tree.
George of the jungle. Just swing. Oh. Look at him go.
Well, that wasn't as bad as it looked.
No, you're making it look easy. We had to go around this great big log jam. Had the river completely blocked up here. And then there's like this island that's in the middle, and then there's another fork of the river over there. So I came that way from there. And so I'm down here waiting for Taylor, who is about to catch up with me. Well done, sir.